Tōwera in 75 and again in 96 when I came back and helped establish the one in visual arts. So that's my whakapapa. It's really got a bit lost there in the middle, but I'll email it to you.
James, you just as a professional living, that's his occupation as an artist.
Well, kind of where to begin really when you're in a state of moving through your own.
If you get the latest Māori art book, I noticed I was very lucky to be mentored by Jonathan as well. He used to critique my work before he passed. Jonathan Maniapoto wrote a few little essays in that latest Māori art book by Narino Ellis.
Toitimana.
Toitimana, that's it.
Yeah.
Toitimana. If you look in the back, there's one page where Jonathan gives advice to contemporary artists, and it's spot on. I'll paraphrase it terribly. Check it out. Yeah, it's a very good page. It's just when I say it's an essay, it's probably And he talks about how I talked to you about how it's important to be curious, and it's also important to get your intentions right. Now, I know my whakapapa, I know I'm Ngāti Whiriki. I get very nervous called a contemporary Māori artist because it's like Selwyn picked up. I don't kōrero Māori, I don't whai kōrero on the pai. I know all these guys. I happened to be at the right place at the right time. I was a fly on the wall of a lot of important wānanga and hui, where great kaumātua and tohunga were writing your maunga kura toi, and I helped write that with Jacob Scott, and I was blessed to be part of the team. In the hui, in these hui, in the early days, there would be a whiteboard, and I would just doodle on the whiteboard what people were saying, and they loved it as the minutes, and they'd take photos of the whiteboard after the hui. And we boiled up maunga kura toi because we got tertiary status, but no funding. So that was about being resilient as well. But your intention is so important, right place at the right time, putting yourself in the right place at the right time. I came back to New Zealand. My intention was to teach, but also show in dealer galleries and try and make money from my art. Most artists like to make money from their art. Am I willing to give away 40% to the dealer? Nearly 10% in ACC fees, another 15 to 20% in taxes. So you end up with probably about 10% net in your bank account after the sale, and then you pay the wife's credit card, you get a Happy Meal. So it gets like, are you willing to do that? To literally cost you the values that go into the artwork. How many aunties do you know who will buy it for that? Many not many, what am I saying? Very few artists try to do both. It's a very rare skill if you can sell it and show it. Showing it and distributing it and publicising it is a whole other skill, which some artists can do, but I just like making art. I don't mind giving away that value exchange. So that's my intention. And I do support the kaupapa of the Imagine Orders, hence I'm here doing workshops. I do everything I can to tautoko this vein of research that I follow in Te Ao Māori as a Ngāti Whiriki. I respect and honour that, so I was honoured to be in the show. Māgi, though, is an ex-tauira. So it's all about who you know as well. And as a young graduate in Melbourne, I knew I was Polynesian. I didn't know I was Indian. I knew I was Scottish and Polynesian. I went to see Deborah White, who I noticed sold Polynesian art in Melbourne. And dealers get 3 or 4 graduates a week coming in begging for shows, and that Deborah White would take on one in a group show a year. So join the queue. And I went and saw Deb, showed her my work. Oh, you're very nice, James, I'll call you. Don't call me, I'll call you. Oh, okay. I didn't hear from you for about 8 years. And then suddenly the phone rings. James, yes. I moved back to New Zealand and Auckland. I need artists to get my white space going. I loved your work when you were a student. What are you doing now? And so I walked into a dealership with white. So I was blessed that way. I didn't have to stand in the queue. The timing. Jung had a very good saying, I live by that. I'm paraphrasing it terribly. If you make the unconscious conscious, if you make the unconscious conscious, then a power and a magic happens, and other people call it fate. It's interesting, isn't it? So if you dream your dream, what you want to do, and you make it conscious and real, it comes with a certain fire and magic and strength to it. And other people might look, oh, James is just bloody lucky. And I was. But it was a good fate, Fate got smart, because I made the unconscious conscious. It's a good quote from Jung.
Kia ora.
Jonathan Money's mentions it in here about young Māori artists, and we have to stand in queue. Be prepared for that. If you want to do that. Whakairo tauira, when I was working with Kiriti writing the degree, I said, well, I'm hoping Hardy might have been here actually. I told him to come down. But from my experience, if you're learning Whakairo, I would spend half of my intentions or everything. My intention would be, if I was studying Whakairo and Kōrero Māori, would be to learn curating, maintaining, what's the flash word for looking after artwork?
Not archiving.
Art curation. Archival, conservation. Especially in Waikato, I remember having arguments with Harry. There's too many bloody whakairo sheds around the place. Over $1 for every whakairo. Rāranga's okay because it's a working wahine thing. But males, far too many guys behind the chisel. And we had our bad Māori art file of just terrible whakairo being made by people. But if they learned how to archive their work and maintain it, there's lots of work and projects and commissions and contracts we can go back to marae and fix up the cock-ups that were made decades ago, years ago. Of course, the idea is that when they look at 2024, will they laugh or will they think, whoa, those guys were onto it? Taught by Da Vinci. Taught by the gods. Yeah, so if I was doing whakairo, so many examples of. We did the ceiling of the Eugene Curran and I did the ceiling of the Navy whare at Devonport. If you get a chance to go to Te Wehiwa at Devonport, the national whare there. All of the surfaces are all natural, crushed cinnamon and clove and fruit peel extracts with pigments, and resilient and maintained annually. And wānanga, not covered in, the worst thing you can put varnish on wood. And if you don't know that, you shouldn't be carving. Because you know that in 5 to 10 years, especially in the Waikato, you'll be back trying to chip this terrible, creamy, crusty stuff off the whakarei, trying to recarve it, because some idiot 10 years ago thought it was a smart idea to put Estopol over everything. Know your craft and to feed the wood rather than cover the wood. Maintain it through wānanga so that the stories and the imagined order can be maintained around that visualization you're carving. A lot of carvers do these great carvings and then just the last step, they just cock it up by slapping paint over it or something. The worst thing, Just hang my head, God. I did my master's putting milk paint on it and stuff like that, keeping it organic, because you put paint on it, it just flakes. And has anyone tried to clean whakairo? It's the worst job in the world. All the whakarei and notches, and some idiot, and you're swearing by the 5th minute, you go, who's the bastard who did this 10 years ago? And you're trying to scratch the crap out. But there's money in it now if you get a contract and someone pays you to do it. And you can learn by cleaning it as well. So know your intention and act accordingly.
Kia ora. Any last questions for Matua? Kia ora, Dorothy.
Ah, you too.
Sewing in the corner. Yeah.
I was singing
Sorry,
your praises. I was singing your praises.
Where is the joy for you? Is it in the process, or is it when you finish, or is it a bit of both? I'm just curious about the joy, because you'd have to find joy in doing it for such a.
Yeah, it is a bit of both. Like I said, I'm rolling it out, and I try to crumple and take terrible photos of it. Oh God! So it was nice to come in and whoa, and it's a record of some dreaming that went on. So it's great joy, I used to be cynical. It's a terrible analogy, but it's your children, And I went to Maniapoto at my show at Gisborne a couple of weekends ago. Maniapoto, a little bit. You ever know Maniapoto outside of Gisborne?
I'm from there.
I went to Libby's there, Libby Clark's house there. This woman has this amazing art collection in this little village called Maniapoto. 2 goldies. Multi-million-dollar Boyd leaning up against the dining chair that's worth probably $1.5. James, I got your picture in the hallway. I know she bought one of my paintings. I'm because you really get to see your baby where it finally lands, and it's in this amazing. I was trying to take a photo of my work with getting the Goldie and the other work. My association, she had 2 of them. Oh, amazing. Anyway, it's a great joy to see where your children finally land, and to be in a public space like this is a great honour to be hanging with other rangatira of Māori art education. It's just quite neat to see up and of some value, and then in the production. If you look at some of my works, I've got a chip plate on it. And I was drawing a chip plate once, and I live in Opu above the car ferry, in the hills above the car ferry, Opu. And there's that little clay walk around the edges there, right around to Pai here, and I was drawing away after 3 or 4 hours. And I draw this little chip plate with the holes in it, just like green stuff. And I went for a walk around the bottom, and right on the clay path, hours later, there's the colonial chip plate, blue.
Wow.
I was drawing up there. I ran to the lotto shop, but I didn't get my lotto. But you have these little wonderful, joyous fates of making conscious, unconscious, and things like that. It's pretty haunting when that happens. Yeah, like doing that 3 horizontals with the crosshatch, and then seeing a documentary, and the archaeologists are down there scraping away, then they're finding these ochre with your marks on it. But are they your marks? Using your own brain. So you have these wonderful events and production, and you're doing it for fun, and that's why art should be funny. I know raranga, half of it's about the gossip, the other half is about the money. It's things like that. This is the joy of raranga.
I think that's all my
Ngāti Toka.
3 questions.
You're going to be here 4 hours. 3 questions.
Sorry, you might have already talked about this. What are you doing now in your practice? And are you teaching?
Am I teaching?
Yeah. Like, what are you doing now in your mahi, your own practice currently? And are you teaching? And what advice have you got for people, especially around being able to audit or communicate what you're working on? Yeah.
As we speak today, they're sitting in my lounge room. I'm doing some secret Santas for my whānau at Moses' house. I won't tell you, I've got to do a little drawing for. I do a drawing for my wife every year for her tolerance and understanding. Maintain. So you need to do this whakapapa stuff. I've got some big ideas as well. Doing sculptures of my drawing is my next Wairau, doing 3-dimensional from the 2-dimensional. At my dotage in my old age, I think I've got enough weight to try 3-dimensional in front of the 2-dimensional. So that's what I'm doing at present. I'm sort of giving up on teaching, getting a bit thin on the health. And what was the last one? Oh, advice. I gave you the advice. Yeah, just get your, if you're young, get a life and then do art. If you're not young, because when you're young, youth and wisdom are a rare combination, eh? It does happen, but very rarely. So get your wisdom together, get your sapient together, know your intentions. I want to make money, I want to make cash moolah. What does that mean? Well, I can sell it to Auntie for $100, or I can go to the dealers and they'll hopefully hock it for thousands. Stand in line. Oh, am I weird percent? Can I give away 40% of the value? Oh. You know, get your intentions right. If you're not curious, give up, go and do something else. If you're not curious, you're not a bloody artist. Keep that and may that haunt you. You must be curious. Kia tu, ki oho, ki mata. Be aware. Be open minded. Be upstanding.
What about being able to communicate your whakapapa? Sometimes that can be a tricky thing.
I started this corridor by saying my words murder most of my communication. I really do. I can't.
So honesty is the best one.
Yeah, well, if you're an artist, ask my wife, you're very good at lying. You know? That's why. Never trust what an artist says as well, by the way.
Really?
Renee Marguerite, this is not a pipe. This is not a pipe. Senior people, yeah. Paints a pipe and then writes underneath it, this is not a pipe. And it's just a pipe on a black background. Check it out. One of the greatest work. Renee Marguerite, he's the man. It's on my Facebook. I love it. Yeah, it's oil on canvas. It's not. You can't smoke it. Well, you could. But you know, it's oil on canvas. But aunties would come. Oh, Renee, that's a lovely landscape, Renee. Oh, it's not a landscape, auntie. It's oil on canvas. You know, so you lie. So artists lie. You've got to be good at it.
We're smart ass.
Keep it up. Yeah, you've got to be able to do that. A lot of it's about that bravado and that arrogance. You've got to have that ego going on. Fame, humility, which I'm the world's most humblest artist. Ask the other Māori artists. James is the most humblest. Yeah.
Also relationships, I think.
Yeah, those things. Yeah, be nice to people. Yeah, you know, if someone's if they're gonna exchange, you've sweated hours, blood, tears of your valued marks. If someone else wanted to exchange that value, you respect that, obviously. You know, if someone slows down and asks how long did that take you, oh, kia ora, I'll slow down and respond then. You know, so you're exchanging values, be it financial, be it time. Yeah, you've got to check yourself quite a bit if you're an artist, I think. Yeah, Dorothy, I think that's an important part of it, eh? Know your intentions. Some are, you know, one of my best students, bless him, Daniel, he's a community artist and just does amazing work out of the Red Shed in Waitomo. Chris Bryant wanted me to come into Te Atinga, but I have a hierarchical problem. And big groups of people, this is about my limit. I worry about hierarchies and big groups. That's why I'm Ngāti Whiriki. I'm that romantic tohunga that walks through the bush and gets other people to feed him and slips away. Not a tohunga who's embedded in the hapu and can waha for hours and knows everything about everyone. I like to think of those romantic tohunga who come in and out of contractors to do things. Ngāti Whiriki around the edges of that great awa. Know your place and act accordingly. If you want to be a customary practice artist, well, be the best. Go to Toyo Kura. Learn how to do those perfect chorus and takarangi spirals. To me. Know your whakapapa. Tell those stories. Tell them in the third or fourth person, not just the first person. Am I just going to illustrate tupuna stories, or am I going to be the tupuna from that? That's why I loved Tina Barrett's installation here. Yeah. The whakapapa of Pounamu from the Pounamu's eye. First person, you know, not in the third person. So, yeah.
Hands up if you were in earlier this year, so you remember the Tia's work there. Yes,
Beautiful.
yeah.
All the sound as well. Like,
For those that weren't here, can you describe it from your memories?
So it was as if you were we're walking into a river or a stream, because all the stones are all set up as if you're, you know, coming off that main. Yeah, and all you saw visually was this big projection of the water coming, rising, and you're the rock, you know, it's just from the camera of what all the weather that it would go through with all the water and everything they came through was brilliant. And just the sound of it, there was this something about water as well that just makes me feel that way, you know. You're lost, but you found your home, but you're not, you know. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, setting up that stimulus and waiting for the response. You know, like I got here, the questions and answer of the tauira. You know, Kaiko should ask the question, and it's the tauira to play with.
Yeah.
You know, used to, like I said before, the wānanga before, they used to get students to answer on one leg, to answer for themselves when they're answering from the view of the community, 2 legs. So it becomes this kinesthetic thing as well. And ask us any questions like, is a dot a koru?
Wow.
And let the students wait a whole year to give you an answer. That had to be good. Hear those questions and viewpoints. Yeah.
Any other katoai?
I really enjoyed that, I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Read this. Jonathan's got some good advice for young tutors at the very end. Very good.